Hi, you guys. How's it going? Welcome to What the Flick. I am Christy Lemire from the Associated Press. I am not Cenk. Cenk is out being an international cable news superstar, so he is too busy to hang out with us and talk about Eat, Pray, Love. I don't know why he would choose to be on television in the exciting outside world than here in this comfortable, warm, snuggly nook with us. But anyway, instead we have Jonathan Kim, Rethink Reviews. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And as always, Matt Atchity from Rotten Tomatoes. He's here too.
I promise to jank up the scores today.
Will you please? Someone's got to do it.
I will jank things up, I promise.
I'm going to mat him up. So it's kind of a wacky day. We have a day of extremes of gender roles. We have Eat, Pray, Love, and Scott Pilgrim versus the World. So we're going to have a little bit of fun with them because they're a little bit different. We're going to start out with Eat, Pray, Love. And Jonathan, take it away.
Well, Sylvester Stallone and Stone Cold Steve Austin and a bunch of their friends decide they need to discover themselves.
Through pasta.
Exactly. Julia Roberts is a recently divorced writer who decides that she needs to find herself, realize who she is, and by going on a year-long trip to Italy and India and then Indonesia, where she will eat things, pray about things, and hopefully love things.
You will live a long time, have many friends, many experiences. You will lose all your money. Don't worry, you will get it all back again. And you will come back to Bali, and then I will teach you everything I know.
When some guy who, yes, looks a little like Yoda hands you a prophecy, you have to respond.
I get it. It's your life raft right now. Just like a couple of years ago when you were completely consumed with being the perfect wife.
Mom, when did you accept the life you had?
Oh, my baby. Always searching for something.
Your underwear, my queen.
Just folded my delicates.
Oh my God, baby, you are in so much trouble.
You know how people start resembling their dogs? You used to look like Steven. Now you kind of look like David.
I need to change. Since I was 15, I've either been with a guy or breaking up with a guy. I have not given myself 2 weeks of a breather just to deal with myself.
You want to go away for a year?
I used to have this appetite for my life, and it is just gone. I want to go someplace where I can marvel at something. I'm going to Italy, and then I'm going to India, and I'm going to end the year in Bali. I'm having a relationship with my pizza. This is my no-carb, left-behind experiment.
If you could clear out all that space in your mind, you'd have a doorway. And you know what the universe would do? Rush in. Everything else will take care of itself.
Alrighty then. So you get the idea of what happens here. It's 2 hours and 13 minutes of Julia Roberts being photographed in the most beautiful, like ethereal golden light. She just looks completely angelic the entire time.
Yeah.
That's the movie.
The movie does look good, and it's beautifully viewed. Although, one of my biggest complaints was too many crane shots. Like
a lot of crane
all
shots,
of these sweeping crane shots.
A lot of steady cam. It's a lot of very restless camera that, maybe that shows our involvement in the movie.
It's interesting. I find, and I'll just jump right in, I think that this movie, I think there's actually a decent movie buried in there somewhere. But between all of these important sweeping shots and weird, like too many montages, and the movie had, partly because based on the story, it has this feeling of almost an episodic. It's very episodic, and I'm not sure that it flows particularly well. I don't feel enough of a join between when she's in Italy and when she's in India and when she's in Bali.
Yeah, the different sections don't always seem to have as much to do with each other. Like in the India section, it's like the Italy section is mostly forgotten, except she's like, oh, I had this great time eating and like making new friends, and now I'm here and I don't understand how I'm supposed to be meditating and things like that.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, it's her life. So, and they did have some tweaks, like the Javier Bardem meet cute, where he brushes her off the road on her bike. Like
Right.
they manufactured that, but it is her life, and so in some ways they can't manufacture bridges between the countries.
Well,
or,
and
I don't know.
and I guess my complaint is that I felt like as much as she is having an existential crisis, I felt that's what's kind of going on in this movie. I didn't feel really that I was part of or going along with her journey emotionally. I felt, I don't know, there wasn't an immediacy, there wasn't an urgency to it.
Because she's a wealthy, successful author in New York.
You know,
with
I didn't.
not that
I
much to
actually.
lose.
You know, it's funny.
Okay.
Actually, I've read that. I've read that complaint, and I actually I'm weirdly okay with that because I feel like if it was a guy in that same story, people kind of wouldn't be complaining as much. And as much as they don't explain that she took the trip based on an advance against a book, and she's a successful writer, and she has the opportunity to do that.
Did I mention that?
You know, they don't really mention that. That didn't bother me as much. I mean, there is that element to it, but that I had less of an issue with. It was more, you know, I didn't feel like how things were changing for her. I don't know. I just
You didn't buy her arc.
I didn't really buy the arc. It's a really good part.
Okay.
Good point.
There
Whereas
you go.
I bought the arc for Richard Jenkins.
Who's amazing.
Who's amazing.
He steals the whole thing.
Right. He's got this 5-minute scene, this 5-minute soliloquy that is jaw-dropping.
I cried.
He's just unbelievable.
I'll admit it.
Yeah,
I don't really cry in a whole lot besides like Lassie movies.
Yeah,
I cried.
And also in terms, I mean, you were talking about the cut, like there's a lot of weird cutting in the movie, a lot of quick cuts and weird montages that felt strange to me, but that one Richard Jenkins scene is one single locked off long shot where you don't even really see Julia Roberts' face in that part. Like you see kind of the back of her head, and he just has this wonderful moment where he lays it all out.
Right, and yet you
it is
can
the
even
best
still
part.
tell that she's reacting, even with, you know, she's mostly got her back to the camera. You can still kind of see in her face how it's affecting her. You know, and it's a great scene. It's a quiet, it's a very focused scene. You know, and I feel like there's, you know, you get a bit of an arc with Javier Bardem's character, and I bought that. But I don't know, I just didn't buy her character. I didn't buy the arc. I felt like, as much as I know that it's there and I know it happened because of the book, I felt like the movie didn't do a very good job of showing it to me.
I've not read the book, I have to admit, but from what I understand about it, there's more in the book in the beginning about how wrecked she feels by her divorce. And I don't know that we get that sense, like, and not that I necessarily want to see her curled up on the bathroom floor in a little ball feeling sorry for herself, but I guess that kind of context makes the whole journey make more sense and helps provide an arc, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you don't really see as much of the good, I mean, apparently, like Billy Crudup's character in this, like, he's a little bit goofy at times, and you can kind of see, like, oh, I can see why she left that guy, which, you know, doesn't speak to, you know, what might be in the book about how broke up she is about it. And also for me, I didn't really buy the James Franco relationship that much, because it seemed like, you know, he's this obviously much younger guy, and, you know, a bit of a kind of hippie sort of guy, and you'd figure, oh, this is like a rebound thing, it's just like this good-looking young guy. But then throughout the movie, it's like, she's really, really upset about it. I was like, was it really that big a deal?
Yeah, I kind of bought it. Here's why I bought it, because even she admits that she will take on the identity of the person with whom she is involved. Mm-hmm. And so she only knows who she is at that point in time based on him. So I think that's one reason I bought it. Plus, he's James Franco. He's great looking. He's kind of sexy. And again, much younger. He's kind of fun. So I was okay with that.
Yeah, actually, I saw the movie with Anna, and she didn't know that he was in the movie, and I was like, oh, you know, James Franco's in the movie. She's like, oh, this movie just got a lot better.
Well, and you know, I hate to hold this against Julia Roberts because she is a great actress, but on a certain level, the idea of somebody like Julia Roberts not knowing who she is, and I just don't
because
buy
she's
that.
Pretty?
Not so much that. I guess I've never seen her in a role, and I didn't buy her in that role. Like, I didn't feel, again, the urgency of her having to find herself. There's a grace, and you know, if you think about Julia Roberts in something like the one she won the Oscar for, which
Erin Brockovich.
Erin Brockovich, right? The Brockovich is a woman who's down on her luck and who's struggling, and Julia Roberts can convey that, but there's a strength there. And I guess what I'm saying is, it seems like any role that you see Julia Roberts in, there's a natural strength to just her.
Yeah,
right?
she always has a real comfort with herself and everything. Because after watching this, I dusted off my 15th anniversary DVD of Pretty Woman
Nice.
to check that again. And
Timeless.
exactly. I mean, it was only 20 years ago that she was known as America's most adorable hooker. You know, it really wasn't that long ago. And she looks terrific in this movie. She looks like she's aged about 5 years in the movie since Pretty Woman. But you know, it's been 20 years. But yeah, I mean, I understand what you mean.
Yeah,
like,
I guess I just don't ever see her feeling. I don't buy that she's that lost. Is the problem?
So would you have bought it if it were an actress you didn't know as well? If it were
somebody who didn't
some character actress?
Well, not even a
whatever.
character actress. Somebody who didn't carry that level of, I don't know, maybe experience, right? I mean, put somebody like who's, you know, not that I would be recasting the movie, but put somebody like a Rachel McAdams in there, who's obviously younger and obviously carries a different persona. Like, I think there's part of it is just Julia Roberts herself brings so much to the table with her personality and with her background. It's hard to put that aside for me.
You know what? I was okay with having Julia Roberts because she is essential to the escape. I mean, she's a total movie star. She's gorgeous in this. Again, the lighting is beautiful. It's all photographed beautifully. And I think this does what it needs to do to satisfy its core audience. Now, I'm not saying I enjoyed it the whole way through. I'm saying it does what it has to do to please like the millions upon millions of people who have read this book and were totally psyched for this movie. I have friends, smart women too, who were really excited about this. They weren't all idiots buying into the pap. Like some of them are really smart women, and they're like, I can't wait to see this movie. How is it? How is it? How is it compared to the book? I think in that regard, it does what it needs to do to provide the escape, and yet there's just enough emotional heft and just enough moments of spirituality, as fake as they may seem, that people will walk away feeling like they are better through sheer osmosis. Yeah. Whether or not that's genuine, they might feel that way, I think.
Yeah, for me, I mean, as much as, we're kind of criticizing it, I do think it struck me as a chick flick that won't make guys necessarily want to kill themselves, like a lot of them do, like a Katherine Heigl movie or something like that.
Right.
And also, first of all, it made me really appreciate all of the girlfriends and wives who go to the action movies and the sports movies and stuff. It really made me appreciate that.
Some women like those.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. But also, I thought it was interesting when I was thinking about it more in terms of like the male midlife crisis and the male midlife crisis movie. It's like the younger girlfriend, the Porsche, go off on some stupid adventure, and then you come back home and you realize that it was really great. Whereas it seems like the female midlife crisis movie or story is more about travel and discovering yourself and realizing that you didn't know yourself. And so in that, I think that this is sort of an interesting movie to take on that subject, which in most chick flicks you don't. You just see a lot of like horrible screeching, and then they end up and complete themselves by meeting the right guy who they didn't get along in the beginning, but it's like, so in that sense, I think it has some interesting kind of themes and notes in it. And the idea of forgiving yourself and forgiving others and letting things be, I think is a nice message in a movie.
Okay, let's give our scores. Matt.
I'm not as low on this as I thought I was going to be.
Okay.
I'm kind of giving it a middle of the road review. I will admit that for the audience that read the book and is excited to see this movie, they're probably going to be pretty happy with it. It's not unwatchable. And I will say that not to keep coming back to the same thing, Richard Jenkins saves the movie for me, makes it worth the price of admission, and so I'm going to go my right middle of the road and go with a 5.
Alrighty. Jonathan?
Well, like I said, I think that the core audience is going to like it. I think this is the chick flick of the summer, that where Sex and the City 2 didn't do it. And there were some technical problems with it. I felt like it dragged at the end. But I'm going with a 6.3.
Okay, yeah, it is way too long. It is a good 2 hours and 13 minutes long. The ballet section drags toward the end. There are some romantic comedy cliches there at the end. Like, I'm not going to give anything away here. There are characters who literally sail off into the sunset, like with no irony. It's real. So I'm giving it a 7, though, because again, I think it does what it needs to do to satisfy its audience. It's effective. It's gorgeous. Julia Roberts is a total star, and we like Richard Jenkins. Yes. So our cumulative score, our average, it's math again. It's tricky. We are giving it a 6.2, which I guess mathematically is a recommendation, middling recommendation. I don't know. It's math.
It's decent.
Okay.